So interesting bit of insider knowledge from the chat. Pt4H made this map.
Well, that is Pt4H. Who told you that?
Wait, what?
Velocipotamus is Pt4H.
See, this is why we have Marshall here, because he knows things and I don't know things.
I don't know. Do I know things? 2 plus 2. Meanwhile, it's our first semi-final of the Battle of the Ancients tournament. We're playing on a Recibo. This is a big old map, 701 radius, quite specific.
Look at all those unit cannons in the middle as well. Very tasty.
Oh, it's alright, they're floating. That water's very shallow, isn't it? Oof.
How shallow? Shallow enough for a commander to stand up and get picked off?
Oh yes, very much so.
Oh, very good. I like that kind of water.
Oh, a lot of people would disagree with you.
Good. I like being controversial. Lots of pings.
Yeah, I think they've got multiple sets of spawns to choose from here. I think this is typically a 3v3 map, so they've got a few to choose from. Where are they going to go?
That's a very important decision, because where you place your commander determines where your 2 main bases are going to be, and that is going to be the hot seat of your production for the vast majority of these rather short one-planet games that we're on. Match starts in 3.
Here we go. So, Gunmetal Grey for our first semi-final of Battle of the Ancients tournament. We got Elodea and KillerKiwi. And bots into air and bots into vehicles. Meanwhile, on the north, in white, we've got Somppe and Pt4H going vehicles with an assist. No further build cues from this commander. There we go, interesting. And, oh, there's a 4th spawn. It's a naval air spawn.
Wonderful.
That is very, very interesting, and I'm not sure how that's going to play out. Water is quite potent, however, control of the land is even more so. And in fact, you know, I just said water is quite potent. Looks like this commander here is going to be walking into this pond to get some naval.
Okay. I'm not sure I buy it.
I've seen this map played before. Getting T2 in that pond is very crucial.
Yeah, you stick a Leviathan in there, you can hit both of those main bases. But
you get the main bases and also all the mechs that is controlled by that pond.
Alright, I'll buy into it. Let's see how it goes.
He's bought into it, Jack. He's bought into it.
Meanwhile, what they have to do though, they've got to build that T2 first, which means that they have to defend it from the initially stronger push from all of those T1. I'd hope some bots and vehicles pushing through here, because the raiding is going to be difficult. On a map this size, air is going to have to be a crucial factor, because it's just got the maneuverability, which you don't have, certainly with vehicles. Even bots are just not as fast as you perhaps might need to react quickly to stuff on here. It is most interesting because, I don't know, I can see this game going on for a while. I can see that if Kiwi and Elodea manage to mount a defense for that T2 naval before it hits them, or expand in the opposite direction and fight off white from the rest of the main continent. I find this interesting. If I were white, I'd be looking to completely obscure my intentions for as long as possible to try and prevent your opponent from getting into the naval game. Interesting, there's a torpedo launcher there. Have they already spotted? Have they already scouted? I think they imagine. I don't think they need to scout, because generally when this map is played, it's all about that pond. Do you think? Yeah. Okay, that's good to know. For me, I would be trying to keep that factory a complete secret for as long as possible, just until the T2 naval appears in it. But you see what that Piranha has done? Oh, it hasn't. It moved away just as Kiwi and Elodea started building that naval factory in that pond. Ooh. Unfortunate. I'm sure that the piranhas themselves, because if you look, there's a torpedo launcher that they probably saw and ran away from because it was nearly constructed. I reckon they're now waiting for the slightly longer range of the orcas to come in and deal with that. Oh, but look on the back here.
that piranha took out the fabricator that was building that naval factory. So Elodea has been blocked from getting into the water on that side.
Nice. Very, very well. That's in that spot, but unfortunately there's a second spot here.
But that's also being watched by that Firefly. So some bombers could come in and deal with it. In fact, we see that if we one bomber.
That's what it needs.
Take
no
two
AA.
passes. Take 2 passes on those vehicle fabs.
There is no AA there. There is no threat. Lots of Trico going on, I can see, from both sides.
Yeah.
There goes the bombing run. First. Hasn't denied the factory. The factory has been completed. Bomber's been taken out.
Nasty.
So that is black now in the, or gunmetal grey rather, in the game on the ocean. The pond looks very much like it's got white's name all over it.
And, well, you say that. Metal Grey have now brought out a couple of Barracuda subs and are pushing white back. White now know that they're in the pond. Perhaps this will give them extra impetus to get their T2 naval. Who knows? Personally, if it was me, I'd be trying to rush up that T2 naval rather than the T2 bots, but that's just me.
It's interesting. I would have thought that the focus on naval would have slowed down the economy for the white team, and it's very difficult to gauge at the moment because there's so much Trico going on for both teams that it's hard to gauge exactly where their economies lie. But I guess in that there is also a lot of freedom because you've got that Trico. You can try a few different strategies, and actually, as long as those combat fabricators keep sucking on trees, you can kind of just play with it and see what happens. The economy suddenly becomes a less important factor for these strategies, and it's all about map control, which, as far as white's concerned, they've got this ocean really. There's a few factories being built by the gunmetal grey team, but largely they're being denied access to this large. Well, there's nearly half of the map is this large ocean at the back here. Got these piranhas now focusing some orcas in 1v1. And the piranhas should come out the better of the two, should they not?
The Barracudas, yes.
Sorry, barracudas. I meant that. That's what I meant. Piranhas are also bitey fish. But they have been soundly beaten, mostly because torpedoes kept turning and hitting the land. So it's poor micro from gunmetal grey, which cost them. And interestingly, who is it that's building the T2 naval first? It's not the white team who have gone in early. They have actually got the gunmetal grey team have their T2 factory queued already.
I think white kind of threw that advantage away. They were in there first. They had that advantage. They had the element of surprise, and they haven't followed up on it. And in fact, their T2, while it's finished now and they've got their locusts out, Kiwi and Elodea are starting on their T2 air and their T2 naval, because that T2 naval will be able to build Leviathans and Kaijus and just control all of this extra space all across up here if they manage to win this pond, which is why it's quite so crucial.
And as you noted right at the beginning, by focusing so heavily on naval, white have completely ceded control of the land mass. There's just gunmetal grey everywhere. They're expanding. Perhaps they could even be expanding quicker, looking at the number of open and uncontested mechs on this land. And white just seems to have no real interest in expanding their economy further on the land. They are focusing almost exclusively on naval, and that is allowing the gunmetal grey team significant freedoms. Having said that, nom nom noms.
Noms
Imminent
indeed.
noms. In fact, look, they're expecting there to be metal extractors there, and they just aren't. There are a couple of docks, though, which they can't see just yet.
I was just watching a few locusts wander in.
They're about to wander into some docks, which is not going to end well for the locusts.
Oh, you're looking at a different group of... Where's this group of locusts? Ah, here we go. Yes, in the trees.
Oh, they're taking out a couple of mechs. Nice. 3 mechs still on with that 1 locust.
Nom nom noms. Can we get some noms in
Nom
chat?
nom 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 nom. Good trade. 2 locusts for 3 mechs.
T2 naval going up in the ocean rather than the pond for white team.
There is one going up in the pond for white as well now, but they are significantly behind gunmetal grey, who's putting quite a lot of build power into it. That said, the commander is now assisting the white T2 naval in that pond. But over on the land, they haven't built anywhere near enough land units to really do much about these. That said, there's some slammers actually in the base which will be able to deal with that. But there's 5 fabricators running straight towards that incoming force from Gunmetal Grey. And they're all going to get taken out if they're not careful.
It's not looking great because also, by now, they could have had that T2 Naval in that pond controlling that entire approach. Do they have it? No!
Forest fires now getting started in the vicinity of the white base. As all of those laser beams set fire to the trees.
Ooh, not good
Those
news.
Slammers really not doing a great job of defending those exposed fabricators there. Loads of grenadiers just wandering around in the forest. They've got a skitter there, they can see the landmines. Landmines being taken out. Large air force also from Gunmetal Grey. Not seeing a huge air presence from white except over the ocean. And they just seem to have just accepted the fact that they're not going to have any land control. Poor Micro and the Slammers getting absolutely shafted by the grenadiers.
It's really quite surprising. I feel like, as I said before, I feel like White had an opportunity and they didn't capitalise on it. They really played the early bit well, I think, in getting into the water, but they just didn't follow up on it. And if they had, rather than spawning in the other water as well, and basically going all into naval, which could still do okay for them in the ocean, at least have some congestion on land, because look at all of this expansion that Grey have.
It's completely
just
uncontested.
everywhere.
And that is now really showing, again, despite the Trico, the eco
300.
difference now is it's stark. And Gunmetal Grey, with the T2 Air now coming into play as well, got some gunships, these Kestrels coming in. And I just don't think that White have an answer to this right now.
No, they don't have their own T2 Air.
And they're not anywhere near as dominant as they, by rights, ought to be at sea either. And there's T2 Naval in the pond and in the ocean now for Gunmetal Grey. I think we're on a steady downhill slope here, Marshall.
For sure, for sure. Unless they can pull something out with regards to getting back into the air game, like going T2 vehicles here and getting some storms up and making some pushes in combination and under the security of T2 Naval.
That's a very exposed commander with a lot of gunships prowling nearby. That said, there's lots of air going up now, lots of anti-air being quickly rushed up to protect that commander from that air. But there's just no rush for this T2 Naval in this pond, which is just so surprising.
Yeah, both teams will have a Leviathan. There we go. Both teams have a Leviathan in the pond now. I don't know. Looking back in the ocean, though, White are
That's
also...
not a Leviathan, that's a Stingray for White.
Oh, yes, so it is.
Now the Leviathan's going up. No, that's not even a Leviathan, that's a Typhoon. They just don't want the battleships.
Oh, I'm sat too far away from my base from my screen to not be able to see. And that was a...
And that massive superior air force for Gunmetal Grey. They've got tier 2 fighters in there as well. That Stingray is getting attacked by the Kestrels and it's gone. Those Kestrels are just absolutely destroying everything, any expansion that White have got. All of their metals being wiped out. Their eco is now about a third that of Gunmetal Grey. They've got a real struggle on their hands here. They've got to do something pretty drastic. I'm thinking snipe territory here from White, really. They may not know it though. They may think that they're still doing okay.
Kiwi and Elodea now starting on a nuclear missile launcher.
Ruh-roh.
It's interesting that because White have been not taking very good trades either. I was just watching a Typhoon pushing in and just get taken out by a couple of torpedoes on the land rather than killing them on its way past. It's like schoolboy errors here, I feel. You know, in a 2v2... You know,
And again, with the economy disadvantage that White have, I'm still thinking that Typhoon is not the wise choice here for them.
no.
Because they don't have the metal to support it. They're down to 50% efficiency. It is killing off all of those Barracudas, which are largely unsupported in the AA field.
It should be focusing on that Leviathan though.
Exactly, and it's just at such a cost. The metal cost of doing those trades against the Leviathan and against the Barracudas is just too great for that Typhoon.
Then again, if they take out the Barracudas, then the Typhoon and the Leviathan can push up without fear of torpedo repercussions.
I'll just look at the size of this Air Force now.
Oh, yeah. If we had a couple of storms in there.
That's what they do need. You're right. A few storms would completely neutralise that air, but it's just.
Do you remember the last time that you and I begged for storms?
Oh,
in a 2v2 tournament?
Yeah, I do. That was interesting. Yeah, and that's the Typhoon completely neutralised with that air force sat over the top of it. Now the Leviathan comes out, but
And
to
the
do what?
Typhoon
To
is
get
gone.
picked off by Kestrels.
Yeah, indeed. Whoop. But they don't want to go in too close because there's a lot of AA there actually. As the gunmetal grey cloud clears, you actually see all of those Galata sat there. Meanwhile, White with their air force on the other side of the planet there, just trying to defend while they get out their T2 naval. But the metal disparity now, 600
And
difference.
growing, and growing. Look at this. Like right on White's front doorstep. Cheeky little expansion right there on the ocean.
I mean, if they're not contesting it,
Exactly.
go grab it.
It's completely uncontested. Look at the rear side of the map. It's black. There is no white units visible on this entire hemisphere. If you focus yourself on that central platform, this is starting to look really one-sided here. But for some reason, Kiwi and Elodea are not moving in for the kill. Are they looking for the humiliation kill of a nuke? I reckon they could be. Have you got that in picture? Because that's definitely worth keeping an eye on. Mind you, that said, it might as well be on the big screen because that's being launched in a few seconds.
Yeah, they just have to scout the commander and then push in.
There it goes. One
Hey.
nuke away. As soon as that lands, if the GGs aren't called, that's just stubbornness. Because if they can afford to be chucking nukes at you as well as everything else, you know you are in trouble in a game of this size.
Oh yes.
Where's it going?
I reckon right about here.
Very close. Right on that T2 factory. Oh, says Somppe.
Oh, says, yeah, surprise!
Well,
And guess what? Next nuke is 65% complete.
oh good grief. That's what all the extra eco is being used for. That's why they're not pushing forward on.
That's why they're stalling,
GG.
spending
Here it comes.
900 metal. GG guys, indeed. I feel like the idea of what White were trying to do there was good, but
The execution
not
was
great
lacking.
execution, yeah. Indeed, and there we go. Oof.
There we go.
That was that.